So hi guys, on this video I'll be teaching you how to read your measuring tape. So this is a measuring tape. It starts from 1 inch to 60 inches here. So this is what a measuring tape looks like. So there are still measuring tapes that are longer than this, but this is what we use in fashion designing. Now the thing for you to notice that the tape has two sizes, one measured in inch and the other one measured in cm. That is this one. These ones are being measured in cm and this is in inches. Okay, so now but for this class you'll be learning how to take your measurement using the inch parts of the tape. Now when you look at this tape here, we have numbers written on them. We have this 1, 2, 3, 4 up to 60 inches. Now, and it takes 8 lines to make up an inch. 8 lines to make up an inch. So I've gone ahead to like mark whatever we have on this tape on this patterned paper, so to be visible for you guys to understand. Now this is 0, that is this line here, this first line here, it's 0. So it comes with a cover like this. Yes, that is this particular side comes with a cover like this. So I just had to take it off so it's you guys understand better. Now this first line here, we start from this first line. That is our calculations will start from this first line here, which is this one. Remember I said it takes 8 lines to make up an inch. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The 8th line is where the inch is. Now let's proceed again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You can see on the 8th number is where the inch is. So that's how to read it. Now all these lines that you see here, they have their names and how you can identify them when taking your measurement. Now this first line here, it's called 1/8. So we'll be reading this in a fraction form. We'll be reading this in a fraction form. It's called, that is this line here. I'm starting all my measurements from this line, not from this 0 here. This first line here, it's called 1/8. Okay, or you can say 1 all over 8, so you can call it 1/8. This second line is called 2/8. The third line is called 3/8. The fourth one 4/8. Fifth one 5/8. Sixth one 6/8. Seventh one 7/8. And the 8th is where the number is, where the inch is. So remember I said it takes 8 lines to make 1 inch. Now the 8th is where the number is, and we have 1 inch. Now if you have to continue to this, the 2 inches, you now read it as 1. That is, we are starting from this line. Now you read it as 1, 1, 8, 1, 1, 8. You write it here, 1, 1, 8. You continue this second line, 1, 2, 8. You continue 1, 2, 8. The third line 1, 3, 8. The fourth line 1, 4, 8. The fifth line 1, 5, 8. The sixth line 1, 6, 8. The seventh line 1, 7, 8. The last line, which is where the 2 inches is, that is where you write your 2 inches. Then you proceed again the same way. I hope you guys understand. Now this is in fraction method. Now if you want to read this in decimal method, okay, in decimal point method, okay, now each of this line, remember I said in fraction it represents 1, 1/8, 1 and 2 over 8, so you get to the last line. Now in fraction, it will be read as 0.125. That is, this line here will be read as 0.125. Now this second one, which is also known as 2/8, will be read as 0.25. So when you hear people say 0.25, you already know where it is. 0.25, 0.375, 0.5, that's this one here. 4/8 is also known as 0.5. 5/8 is also known as 0.625. 6/8 is also known as 0.75, and 7/8 is also known as 0.875. So you can read it in whatever method you want to read it. So you can read it in a fraction form or in a decimal point. Now, in a situation where you're having a measurement that have 1 to 8 and you want to read it in a decimal form and not in a fraction form. Now this 1 to 8 is in a decimal form. If you want is in a fraction form, sorry, if you want to read it in a decimal form, this 1 to 8, you will now write 1.025 or 1.25. okay, you call this 1.25. so that is in a decimal form. Okay guys, so let's make an illustration using this, my wrist. So I'll just go around here and I'll take my round wrist circumference here. So I have 7 to 8. Where my tape is at 7 to 8 here. Can you see? 7 to 8. Now if I'm to read this in a fraction method, I would say this is 7 to 8. Okay, 7 to 8. In a decimal method, I will say this is 7.25. You get? This is 7.25. 718.728. But in a decimal method, this is 7.25. So you understand now. So you do the same thing. If you are taking the length, let's say I'm taking the length of this pattern here. So I have, this is where it ends. So and this is 10, 10, 1, 8, 10 to 8, 10 through 8, 10 for 8, 10, 5, 8. Okay, you can read it as 10, 5, 8, and you can also still read it as 10.625. You can read it as 10.625 inches. Now another way of also identifying your tape is by these longer lines here. These longer lines, you can also call it 1/4 of an inch. That is 1/4. That's this first long line here, this to 8. You can also call it 1/4, which is 1/4 of an inch. This second long line here is known as 1/2 of an inch here. The third one here is known as 3/4 of an inch. Then we have the inch itself. Let me use the tape so you guys can understand better. So we have the 1/4 of an inch. That's this line here. That's this line here. We have the 1/4 of an inch, 1/2 of an inch, 3/4 of an inch, then the inch itself. We have 1/4 of an inch, 1.5 of an inch, 1/3/4 of an inch, and the inch here. So that's just all. So thank you so much for watching, and bye.